Madonna Guy, good afternoon, Madonna.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm a lot better. I went through a sleep apnea test the other day.
How'd you go?
Scary, but I found out.
Yes?
Very healthy during the day,
Yep.
very unhealthy at night. I don't mean dirty habits, I'm just not sleeping well.
Ah, so did you see the good-looking bachelor boy who got thrown off the Bachelorette last night? He was a sleep technician from Brisbane. And I thought,
No, the lady, she was lovely, very good. But yeah, everything fixed.
Well, there you go.
What have we got on the agenda today?
Well, given the craziness out there, I thought we'd talk about what's making people crazy these days.
Right.
Sort of, let's talk food, let's talk the sort of psychology going on. Have either of you heard of the GAPS diet, for a start?
No.
It's been floating around for probably 5 years or so now. And basically, it's the same as the keto diet. It's a high-fat, high-protein diet. And probably, I suppose, a little bit similar to paleo, because when you sort of start nutting them all out, a lot of them are about cutting out sugars and grains. What a surprise. So the GAPS diet is the gut and psychology, so that's what the GAPS stands for. And basically when people are doing it, what they're aiming at doing is about 70% of the diet being fats. So you're talking eggs and fish and nuts and seeds and that sort of thing, because your brain is made of fat. So if
Fathead.
Yeah.
I've been referred to that a few. I still am actually, Lorraine just said it.
So it's one of those things where quite often because you can't, if we're getting angry, if we're getting stressed, if we're getting anxiety or depression, our brain is inflamed. So you can't have any of these things going on without an inflamed brain. So that's it for a start. It's not like our brain swells and, we've got, we're red and sore and swollen. That's not what happens. Our brain's inflamed and then it starts eating away at the nervous system. And of course the end result of that down the track is of course your dementia and multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, those sort of things. Yeah, they're the end result. And I think we've chatted about it before that things like Alzheimer's and dementia are considered third stage diabetes. So they know that insulin is building up in the nervous system in the brain, and it's basing part of it is about the fact that it's eating away at the nervous system. It's attaching to the nerves and it's stopping them from being able to function properly. So it's really it damages the brain when our blood sugar is out of balance.
Well, speak about the good bacteria in the gut.
Yes.
I used to religiously every morning, cornflakes, Kellogg's cornflakes, love them. Nothing nicer in the morning. Sugar, white sugar sprinkled on top, cold milk, loved it.
Yep.
But I've gone right off it. As of 2 months ago, I'm having natural muesli, Greek yogurt, Greek yogurt.
Yes, I love my Greek yogurt.
Cranberries and blueberries and chocolate, strawberry.
And I'm having mulberries.
I love it. Absolutely. Now, is that good for me or not? Is Greek yogurt good? It's not.
Probably mostly, but the muesli can still be a whole chunk of carbs that you're starting your day with. So you sort of have to look at the overall amount of carbohydrates in the breakfast. So the carbs in your brekkie are still the muesli. It's still going to be probably a third of the yogurt because there's going to be a carbohydrate component, even though there's good fats and proteins in there. There will still be a carbohydrate component, and then, of course, the fruit.
Well,
so when you sort of balance it out...
Porridge.
I don't like
no, porridge is all carbohydrates too. But porridge is 80% carbs.
But it's good for you.
It's still carbohydrates, so you still have to balance it out with fats and protein.
All right, cut back on the natural muesli. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's really about working it out and because let's face it. There's 3 of us in this room. One of us is going to end up with full-blown diabetes. That's just a statistic. By the time it's 2050, one and a half of us will have it.
Bearer of good news.
well, that's what they're looking at. Within 20 years, 1 in 2 people over 40 will have diabetes. So they're not mucking around. Our statistics are really going downhill fast. It's doubling every 2 years.
Don't look at me, Lorraine.
I have that porridge with a pack of pawpaw and fruit on it and just skim milk, and that's it. And as I've said before, by about 10 o'clock, I'm hungry.
Yes.
I'm looking for protein. So
yes.
You're right on.
So, because you're adding fruit as well to the carbs, so you've sort of got a double whammy of carbs. Yeah. And even with skim milk, as soon as you take the fats out of the skim milk, there's more carbs in that again. So it actually ends up being a triple whammy. No. It's about thinking it through. I think the problem is that people think they need cereal for breakfast.
All right. Tell me, I get out of bed, have a shower, down to the kitchen, what should I eat?
Bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs is much better for you than
I
cereal.
had bacon and eggs after golf this morning.
Yeah.
for a
There you
packet
go.
of
Yeah.
That's why you're looking so good.
You know, cook up a bit of salmon, cook up a
What
bit
about
of...
the cholesterol level in the bacon?
Yeah, what a load of rubbish. So, no, don't
That'll
even
just
go
give you
there these
diabetes and
days.
you'll be the 1 in 3.
Yeah.
The fat does not give you diabetes. Fat does not give you diabetes.
It's the sugar.
It's the sugar. Fat does not give you diabetes.
So I can eat bacon and eggs and grilled tomatoes safely without...
Yeah, the reason I say that is that the pancreas makes 2 different hormones. So diabetes is all about the pancreas. Your pancreas makes insulin and it makes glucagon. The insulin we release when we eat anything that turns into sugar. Anything. And it can be the good fruits like the mulberries and blueberries. We need them. I'm not saying we don't need them. They have to be in balance. But your oats also turn into sugar. It takes longer. They have a low GI, so they still turn into sugar. It just takes 3, 4, 5 hours.
They're going. The oats are going.
So
Definitely tomorrow the
it's
oats are going.
really that sort of thing where you really have to think about it and go, okay, because the other hormone that our pancreas makes is glucagon. Glucagon is released when we eat fats and proteins. Diabetes is about the cells that make the insulin being exhausted, not the glucagon.
The thing that gets me is they say to eat oats because it brings down your cholesterol levels.
Yes.
So it's done that. It
Yes.
has done that for me.
Yes.
Right. It definitely did work. So now I can go and get some more cholesterol by eating bacon. So where do you go? I mean, it's
Everything in
you know,
moderation.
everything in moderation. You're right, but so you're between the devil and deep blue sea. You don't
Yeah,
do this because.
Well, no, you're
Okay.
not. No, because the research is
Cholesterol?
now showing that what we've been saying for 30 years is wrong. The low protein breakfasts are just wrong. They're wrong. So they've been trying to push this for 30 years. People are 20% bigger than they were back in the 80s. You know, we're not getting healthier by doing all these low protein breakfasts. You know, like things like, they do say things like Nutri-Grain and cornflakes and rice bubbles. They're very, very low in fat. Low fat is not working for us as a race.
It is terrible because I'll tell you a quick story, and we're just sidetracking here a bit, but I always used to take my kids when they're young down to an AFL game every year, religiously, once, twice a year.
Yes.
One particular occasion I took them from the old Richmond ground next to the MCG, and they've got the old turnstiles there, red brick, the old wrought iron turnstile gate. Now, I would tell you, without doubt, many people today would not be able to get through those gates.
Yeah.
And yet thousands flock through them back
Yeah,
in the
there you
50s
go.
and 60s.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where the thing about eggs is that eggs have got, when you eat caged eggs, the stress that's caused to the poor little chooks ends up increasing the bad cholesterol in the eggs. If you eat free range or organic eggs, the happier the chooks, they actually have more
I've
lecithin
never seen a
in the
happy
egg
chook.
whites.
Go on.
Well, if you have a look in cages, you'll see some unhappy ones. Let's just say that. So basically, well, they've proven this.
Yeah.
Basically, caged eggs have got a lot less lecithin, and lecithin helps you cope with the cholesterol in the egg yolk. If people believe in bad cholesterol, then basically eggs are balanced because of the egg whites balancing out the egg yolks. Have either of you ever bought lecithin in a bag from the supermarket?
Yes, I
Because
have.
doctors often
I
tell
used
people to buy
I
lecithin.
used to eat it all the time, buy it and
Yes.
sprinkle it on my food. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's many years ago, you're quite
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Now, the funny thing about cholesterol is that any studies I've ever done with diet really only shows that diet decreases cholesterol by about 10%. The rest of it is made by the liver because we need it. We need cholesterol to repair the brain. So just say you have a big sugar breakfast, then your brain's going to get inflamed. Your body's going to need cholesterol to help to heal your brain, so your liver will release cholesterol. So your cholesterol starts going up. You go on drugs that take the cholesterol down, your brain is not repairing.
All right. If I have toast, which is rare these days, I
Yes.
have that spread, I won't mention the name, I have the spread that says very clearly on the top of the lid, lowers cholesterol.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? And yet the bread will be raising your cholesterol because it turns into
So the
sugar.
spread is good.
I know
No.
the spread that you're talking about. I use it too. It starts with a P.
And I've got a friend
Is
whose
that it?
wife, can't think,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you're
There's
right.
some
Well,
seminars
why are
I
we
go to where they're
encouraged?
not allowed to say the words of things. They're very funny.
They're-
Because
yeah.
doctors believe that cholesterol is bad. So because doctors, and it's $1 trillion industry, the cholesterol drug
Fortunately,
industry.
mine,
It's
mine
huge.
doesn't. Fortunately, I have one that listened to me.
Yeah.
Because I had a specialist that wanted to put me on
A special tablet?
on
cholesterol drugs.
cholesterol drug, and I
Yes.
said no. I said I won't do it.
Yes.
It's not bad enough. Went back to my own doctor, and he said absolutely right. He said it doesn't warrant it,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah. And
my good outweighed my bad.
yeah, and the thing is, we actually need more cholesterol as we get older. Now, of course, the theory is they're telling us to lower our cholesterol so that we don't build up cholesterol in our arteries. But cholesterol is only raised when our body needs it to heal something. Our body uses cholesterol to heal capillaries. It uses cholesterol to heal the brain. It uses cholesterol to sop up heavy metals. It uses cholesterol to sop up viral and bacterial
So
particles.
It's a vital part
It's
of our
it's
life.
actually
Yes.
it's really important for the body.
I think it's 5 years I've been talking to you now about this.
Yeah.
And Madonna has been absolutely right. It was because of what you said to me that I refused to take cholesterol.
Yeah,
drugs.
and if you do your oats for breakfast, it's about adding the protein.
Right.
So like you say, you're hungry 2 hours later, but what you're actually better off doing with that meal is adding some protein powder, adding some LSA, linseed sunflower
Yeah, you
almonds,
said to me I will
adding
get
some
some.
nuts and seeds and that sort of thing, so that you're starting to really balance it out. Buy your rolled oats because they're cheap and easy, but then add things to them so that when you're making your cereal, it's really easy and it's already prepared so that it's a balance. And the balance needs to be about 50-50 with your protein your protein and your fats should be more than your carbohydrates.
So I will get a smiling egg on top of it. I'll have a
Exactly.
Happy chalk.
Happy chook and a happy egg. Go on.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. There you are. And next week I'll be
Yeah.
smiling when you come
So
in.
it really does
Yeah,
make
go
a
on.
difference. I don't know whether I ever mentioned this. But I was down in Melbourne, and there was this woman who was an Indian woman, and she used to eat Indian food. So naan, I loved Indian,
Yeah.
but we were there, and she was eating naan breads every night and lots of rice and that sort of thing. And of course, probably coming from India, she really believed that this was healthy food, and from a low processed, handmade, freshly done, it is quite healthy from that
Nourishing.
perspective. But from the perspective of carbohydrates compared to protein and fat, totally out of balance. So, and my friend Linda and I were chatting to her at the dinner table, and she was saying how she'd had these couple of bouts of pancreatitis and this massive gallbladder pain. And we start chatting to her as we do, and next thing
Can
we're
I
giving
ask one
her.
question? Was she a large woman?
She had skinny legs and a big belly.
Yeah.
So she was a classic apple shape. So she always ran out of energy by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There was just nothing left in the tank. And when we started talking to her, she had things like dal and rice for breakfast. Because once again, cheap, easy, and quite nourishing from the nutrition in there, but no protein. So we were talking to her, hey, because, some of them are doing that because they're vegetarian and religious. So we always try to make sure we know where they're coming from first. But it wasn't within that. So she was Hindi, but she still ate meat and eggs. So next morning she had eggs. We went back to that same place for dinner the next night, and she'd had more energy that day than she'd had in like 30 years. And it was one of those things where we just happened to go in there, and she happened to tell us, wow, that was amazing. I added protein to every meal and I felt better than I've felt in years. And it's one of those things that there's all of the information coming out these days is that grains and sugar are the bad guys. So when it comes to diabetes and even things like cancer and heart disease, because cancer is about acidity, sugar and grains make us more acidic as well. And really, even though going back 100, 200 years ago, we would have got a lot of B vitamins, we would have got a lot of protein and good fats out of grains. That's not the case with our grains these days. Our grains are very, very starchy. They're very hard to break down. There's very little B vitamins in them by the time we get them on the shelf.
Genetically changed.
Yeah, very much.
Modified,
So,
genetically modified.
and I remember seeing a comparison of, I think it was wheat grain 100 years ago compared to now, the amount of protein and fats that used to be in them compared to what's in them now. It's really quite amazing, the difference. They used to have grains, particularly wheat, used to have omega-3 fatty acids in, which everyone knows is from fish, but it used to be in wheat. There's none in it now.
Yeah.
Which
What
is
are we
sort of
doing?
interesting, yeah.
Well, we're
So
genetically
we're quite,
modifying everything.
yeah,
aren't we?
and
That's it.
we're quite
The
changing
sad
things.
thing is we don't know what we're eating.
Yeah.
Mums are buying what they think the best for their kids,
Yes.
and they've got no idea
Yeah.
what the kids are putting in their tummies.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And
Something's
because
got to be done. Legislation, something has to be done.
it's true, and I think at the very least we need to start being able to write on things that things are genetically modified.
I agree.
At least people like Jamie Oliver are out there talking about the sugar and making a really big deal out of it, which is good, and hopefully it's filtering out there to mums and dads.
But the big corporations have got so much money, they'll muffle him
They
very
do.
quickly.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what big companies who, you know, sell lots and lots of really naughty stuff, what they will do to counterbalance
All
it.
about money.
Yeah, it is all about balance, but at least, and money, but at least these days there are healthier choices available at places, you know, some of the big food chains at least. You know, people can go in there and eat a healthy meal if they actually want to. And we're still nowhere near as bad as America.
Oh,
you know,
no.
it's...
But we follow them.
But
We
we
do.
don't.
5
I
years
haven't
behind.
seen anyone sitting down with pancakes and maple syrup here yet. I haven't seen that happen yet. Hash browns, yes.
But in
not.
the States, it's scary
Oh,
when you see them get served their
you've
meal.
seen it, haven't you?
And
Yeah.
they pile up the plate
Yeah.
to its
My,
very
yeah.
extremities.
My son's in Las Vegas this week, and he he kept throwing some photos on Facebook, and it was, you know, it was the burgers and the massive fries, and it was this, and he kept making comments. It looks impressive, but there's actually not a lot of taste in it. And I think about 4 days later, he actually found some vegetables at Walmart, and he was really excited and took photos.
Something fresh. Madonna, we've run out of time.
I was just going to tell her she'll be proud of me. I went and bought lettuce last week and kale and planted them.
Oh, very good, fantastic.
Kale and lettuce.
Yeah, two of the ones that have the most pesticide use.
No, I put.
No. I mean out there
Off
in
the
the
shelf.
off the
Yep,
shelf,
yep.
they are two of the
Planted
ones
my
that
own.
have a massive amount of
Broccoli's got a
pesticides
lot
on
too,
it.
hasn't it? They
Yeah,
say
pretty much
broccoli's-
anything green and
Yep.
leafy. If you imagine you like to eat it straight off there, so do the bugs.
Yep.
So they're the ones that have a
This
lot
is
of
where New Zealand's
pesticides.
doing very well with its marketing to China, clean foods.
Yeah,
Because
right.
They're very, very strict now on the pesticides
Anything
they
that comes
use.
out of New Zealand's good.
Yeah. Yeah, in China, have either of you been to China?
No.
Yes.
Like it,
Hong
because there's
Kong.
so much pollution there, you know, even if they're trying to make things organic, which of course it's almost impossible because there's so much stuff in the soil, you know, they're just the air pollution alone would make it quite
Yeah.
toxic. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what
When you
happens.
fly Hong Kong across to Europe, you can see this dirty brown haze as far as you can see out
Yeah.
the window.
It's amazing as soon as you start to fly into Hong Kong, you see those islands, little islands appearing, you know, and and a smog
Yep,
out
the
there.
brown clouds.
We were incredibly lucky. We were in Shanghai just before Expo, so they'd had most of the major companies shut down for 6 weeks beforehand. So we actually had blue sky and had no idea how lucky we were. And people were saying that you just don't see
But
the
the
sky.
average Chinese person is themselves. They're very aware of it and very scared.
Yes.
What's happening? Like
Yes.
that explosion they had the other day, that was all...
Oh, that was
the
shocking,
authorities
wasn't it,
trying
in
to hush it up
Beijing?
and say it's all okay. Madonna, what's your address? I know your telephone number.
Yes.
I think everyone knows it. 33486098. 33486098. And the address at Wynnum is?
94 Edith Street, Wynnum. Smack bang in the middle of Wynnum between Australia Post and St Vinny's.
So give Madonna or the girls a call, or if you can, drop in and have a chat to the girls there at New Leaf Natural Therapies. Right here, Bay FM. We've got some great sounds coming up very shortly.